The return journey to the ship should have been a tense retreat from mortal danger, but Dr. Millicent Yu found herself accompanied by one of the most magnificent predators she had ever encountered. The cougar had decided to follow her at a respectful distance, padding silently through the crystalline forest with the fluid grace that had made its earthbound cousins the stuff of legend. "Status report, Human Dr. Yu," Commander Thiss requested, though his voice carried the strained quality of someone trying to maintain professional composure while watching a crew member casually stroll through hell. "All equipment secured and operational," Millicent replied, guiding her hover transport through the underbrush. "My shadow friend here seems interested in seeing me off his property. Think of it as a polite escort to the border." The alien crew watched through her helmet camera as the cougar moved through terrain that would challenge even their advanced mobility systems. It flowed over fallen logs, navigated around crystal formations, and leaped across stream beds with an efficiency that made their own locomotion seem clumsy by comparison. Dr. Zarath had managed to overcome her initial terror enough to begin taking scientific measurements. The creature's movement patterns suggest incredible musculoskeletal coordination. Its energy expenditure appears minimal despite the complex terrain navigation. How did such an evolutionarily perfect predator fail to eliminate your species during your developmental period? Millicent considered the question while climbing over a particularly large root system. "Well, we didn't exactly fail to notice them. Cats like this one were definitely a threat to early humans. But I guess we learned to adapt instead of just running away. Tool use, fire, social cooperation, we found ways to level the playing field." "But surely your species must have developed an instinctual fear response," Dr. Bluebeth interjected. "Prey animals that survive predator exposure typically evolve enhanced flight responses and threat avoidance behaviors." "Maybe," Millicent said, pausing to rest her transport on a flat stone. The cougar had also stopped and was now sitting about 20 meters away, watching her with patient interest. "But humans are weird. Instead of just avoiding things that scare us, we have this tendency to study them, understand them, sometimes even try to make friends with them." She gestured toward the cougar, which flicked its ears at the movement but remained calm. "I mean, look at this guy. Apex predator, perfectly evolved killing machine, could probably take down something twice his size if he really wanted to. And yet here he is, basically just curious about the strange visitor in his territory." The statement highlighted something that none of the alien species had fully grasped about human psychology. Where every other known civilization had developed along paths of threat avoidance and risk mitigation, humans seemed to possess an almost pathological curiosity about dangerous things. Engineer Kextal's rapid clicking had slowed to a more thoughtful rhythm. "Your species approaches unknown predators with scientific interest rather than survival protocols. This suggests either severe evolutionary dysfunction or what?" Millicent asked, genuinely curious about the alien perspective. "Or adaptive superiority so profound that normal predator-prey dynamics become irrelevant," he finished quietly. The implications of this statement rippled through the crew like a quantum shockwave. Each species represented millions of years of evolution shaped by the fundamental need to avoid becoming something else's dinner. Their entire understanding of galactic civilization was built on the assumption that intelligence arose from the need to outwit predators and survive in hostile environments. But humans appeared to have taken a radically different evolutionary path. Instead of developing better ways to hide from danger, they had developed better ways to understand and manage it. The difference was so fundamental that it challenged basic assumptions about how intelligence itself emerged. As if to underscore this point, the cougar suddenly stood and moved closer, cutting the distance between them to about 10 meters. Every alien sensor array immediately went into full threat detection mode, but Millicent simply turned to face the big cat with relaxed interest. "What's up, buddy?" she asked conversationally. The cougar opened its mouth and made a sound that the ship's computer initially classified as a pre-attack vocalization. But instead of the territorial scream they had heard earlier, this was something entirely different. A soft, almost questioning chirp that sounded nothing like what anyone expected from an apex predator. Did that creature just attempt vocal communication? Dr. Zarath whispered, her tentacles quivering with shock. Sort of, Millicent replied, delighted by this development. Cougars actually have a pretty wide range of vocalizations. They can't roar like lions or tigers. Their vocal cords are structured differently, but they can chirp, whistle, scream, purr. That was definitely a social sound, not aggressive. She made a soft, clicking noise with her tongue against her teeth, a sound that carried through her suit's external speakers. The cougar's ears perked up with obvious interest, and after a moment's consideration, it responded with another quiet chirp. Incredible, Commander Thiss breathed. You're engaging in acoustic communication protocols with an undomesticated apex predator. It's not that weird, Millicent said, though she was clearly enjoying the interaction. Cats are social animals. They use vocalizations to establish relationships, mark territory, express emotions. This guy's just being friendly. The word friendly applied to a creature that could kill most known sapient species with minimal effort was perhaps the most alien concept the crew had yet encountered. Their understanding of predator behavior was based on simple models of hunter and hunted, threat and response, survival and extinction. The notion that such a creature might engage in social behavior with a potential prey animal was beyond their comprehension. The cougar took another step closer, now within what any reasonable threat assessment would classify as immediate striking range. But its body language remained relaxed and curious rather than predatory. Its golden eyes were focused on Millicent's helmet, possibly fascinated by its own reflection in the faceplate. Human Dr. Yu, Dr. Blubeth said urgently. The creature has achieved optimal attack positioning. Recommend immediate defensive measures. He's not positioning for an attack, Millicent replied calmly. Look at his stance. Weight distributed evenly, ears forward, tail relaxed. If he were planning to attack, his weight would be shifted to his hindquarters for the pounce, his ears would be flattened back, and his pupils would be dilated. She slowly extended one gloved hand toward the cougar, palm up in a gesture of non-aggression that translated across species. Besides, predators don't usually announce their intentions by having conversations first. The cougar examined her outstretched hand with the careful attention of a scientist studying an interesting specimen. After a moment's consideration, it leaned forward and gently sniffed her glove, its wet nose just barely making contact with the advanced polymer material. The touch was so gentle that the suit's pressure sensors barely registered it. But the symbolic significance of the moment would be discussed in xenobiology departments for generations. An apex predator from an alien world had just made peaceful, voluntary contact with a human being. By the eternal currents, Dr. Blubeth whispered, it's conducting chemical analysis of her biological signature. Yep, Millicent agreed cheerfully. Getting to know me. Cats rely heavily on scent for identification and social interaction. He's basically saying hello. The cougar completed its olfactory investigation and sat back on its haunches, apparently satisfied with whatever information it had gathered. It made one more soft chirp, almost conversational in tone, then turned and began walking back toward the deeper forest. I think that's my cue to leave, Millicent said, watching the magnificent animal disappear into the crystal-touched shadows. He's done being curious about the weird alien visitor. The pickup proceeded without incident, though every member of the crew remained glued to their monitoring stations until Millicent was safely back aboard the Harmony. As she went through decontamination procedures, the full weight of what they had witnessed began to settle in. I need to file a formal report with the Galactic Xenobiology Council, Dr. Zarath announced, though her voice carried a note of uncertainty. But I'm not sure they'll believe the data we've collected. What's not to believe? Millicent asked, removing her helmet and shaking out her hair. We documented a peaceful interspecies contact between human and local predator. Happens all the time back on Earth. Commander Thies was reviewing the sensor logs with the expression of someone trying to solve an impossible equation. Human Dr. Yu, in your species' experience, how common are peaceful encounters with apex predators? Millicent thought about it seriously. Well, most of the time when humans and big predators meet, nobody gets hurt. Bears, wolves, mountain lions, even sharks. They're usually more interested in avoiding confrontation than seeking it. The problems usually happen when humans act like idiots. Like trying to feed wild animals or getting between parents and offspring. She gestured toward the window, where the forest of Kepler 442b stretched out beneath the setting suns. That guy down there was just being a good neighbor. He checked me out, decided I wasn't a threat to his territory or food sources, and went about his business. Textbook predator behavior, really. Dr. Bluebith's sonar organs were still recalibrating from the stress of the encounter. On my homeworld, any creature capable of those vocalizations would be classified as a planetary extinction threat. Our entire civilization developed around avoiding such predators. Different evolutionary paths, I guess, Millicent replied with a shrug. Humans never really had the option of just avoiding predators. Earth was crawling with things that wanted to eat us. Big cats, bears, wolves, crocodiles, venomous snakes, aggressive primates. We had to learn to deal with them or go extinct. Engineer Kextal's rapid clicking had evolved into something almost musical as he processed this information. Your homeworld was a predator-rich environment that forced aggressive adaptation strategies rather than avoidance behaviors. This explains the psychological abnormalities we've observed. Abnormalities? Millicent raised an eyebrow. Your complete lack of appropriate fear responses, he clarified quickly. What other species would classify as severe anxiety disorders, humans appear to experience as normal baseline emotional states. The observation was more profound than perhaps any of them realized. They were beginning to understand that humanity's place in the galaxy might be fundamentally different from every other known species. While other civilizations had achieved intelligence by learning to hide from danger, humans had achieved it by learning to face danger head-on. Well, Millicent said, settling into her chair and pulling up the data from their successful equipment retrieval. I guess that makes us the weird ones in the galaxy. Who knew? But as the Harmony continued its mission among the crystal trees of Kepler 442b, each member of the crew found themselves looking at their human colleague with new understanding. She wasn't just another scientist or another crew member. She was a representative of a species that had looked at a universe full of predators and decided to make friends with them instead of running away. And perhaps most remarkably of all, it had worked.